Peace and blessings, everyone. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of The Male's Perspective. I'm your host, Amari Evans, and today I'm accompanied by a humble individual representing Charlotte, North Carolina, and a graduate student from Winston-Salem State University. Ladies and gentlemen, please give him a warm welcome to my co-host, Marcel McCray. Marcel, how you doing, bro?
What's up, bro? How you
doing?
All
right? Doing all right?
Appreciate you having me, bro.
That's good. Of course, man. The title for today's show is Daddy's Lessons. With this podcast, we encourage listeners to follow along and allow us to be the captains to this liberating journey we are about to begin. We hope you all find the content of this show captivating and brings fulfillment to your life. I like to call that soul food. If y'all don't know the slogan, just remember we are stronger unified than divided. We all we got. Let's get started. So topic one, to get you all acclimated with what we're talking about or what we're discussing. I wanted to use an article according to cinejournal.org, and we're the dynamic of black households. Almost 70% of black children are born to single mothers. Those mothers are far more likely than married mothers to be poor, even after a post-welfare reform decline in child poverty. They are also more likely to pass that poverty on to their children. So for topic one, we want to go ahead and discuss the dynamic of what it's like to be in a household being an African American in today's society in America. According to Medium.com, as referenced in the myth of the missing black father, black fathers are rarely depicted as deeply embedded within the family systems they help create. The greater their invisibility as fathers, the more problematic the reality for black families in the black community. So, basically reading off of that citation, I want to get your impression as far as what was the dynamic in your household as far as your father? Was he involved in your life, or was he someone that just give me a rundown as far as what it was like living in your household?
It was weird, bro. I'm gonna be honest. It was weird because obviously my mom was the head of household, right?
Right.
She the rule of all things. She was just there.
Right.
And my father, he was just, I feel like he was like a flotation device, if that makes sense. He would pop in and out. He would pop in and out sometimes, show his face, and crazy thing about that part is he would consider himself a good father because he would pop in and out.
He would pop in and out?
He would pop in and out and just show his face, and for that, he thought that was a lot. And
wow.
It made up for him being a good father.
Wow.
Yeah.
I will say, based off of my experiences, in my household, of course, when I grew up, toward the beginning of my life, I had both of my parents, and seeing them argue, of course, you always being in a less, what's the word I can say, a more so unfortunate or less fortunate environment.
Yeah.
It was a lot of commotion, a lot of back and forth, and then things happened outside of our our doorstep.
Right.
So, but with them divorcing and being away from each other, I kind of lost my way as far as leadership from a male perspective, because I eventually started growing up, going back and forth between my mom's house and my dad's house, and sometimes here and there I would miss my dad,
right,
and the way he used to cater to his children,
right.
So that dynamic kind of pushed me away.
Similarly, my situation is kind of the same, is because they were married initially, right, and they eventually got a divorce. But for my situation, my father was there presently, but he was absent emotionally, all other areas that you can think. He was just absent. He was just a body, just a being, right?
Word.
And so, financially, he was not there.
Yeah.
Emotionally, he was not there.
Yeah.
My mom needed him a lot of times with, and he just wasn't there. I feel like his backbone wasn't strong enough to withstand that.
Wow.
He still wanted to be out and do
Yeah.
his own thing. You know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it kind of affected my viewpoint on him and on a man in general. If you
Wow.
know what I mean.
Yeah, and that brings us to the next topic. We're gonna go in and discuss, what was it like as far as like, when you already said this earlier, but I want you to elaborate more and go into more detail as far as, who was more present, family members wise, like who was more present, who was more like, I'm gonna cater to Marcel,
Right.
to get you here, as a graduate student, of course.
I'm gonna have to give all the credit. Not all the credit. I'm gonna give most of the credit to my mother. She was there. She just instilled very positive and great things in me. Obviously, people say that a woman can't raise a boy to be a man, but in my situation, I beg to differ.
Powerful.
Because she was more of a man than my father could ever been. I always see her work, get up every day and bust her, behind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bust her behind and go to work and support me and my siblings. So definitely most of the credit goes to her. I give some credit to my uncles.
Yeah.
A little bit to my brother. I had a couple mentors and things like that, but
Right.
mainly my mother, bro.
Right. For sure. Me, like, same thing, man. I would say I give credit to my mother. Like, although, like, I do, honor the fact that my dad, he tried his best to raise me. But at the end of the day, I still ended up at mama's house. You know what I'm saying? And I'm here today.
Right.
I'm here, of course.
Right.
Or I'm pursuing college.
Correct.
Trying to get my bachelor's degree off of her influence.
Right.
It was only so much that my dad taught me as far as like what you gonna do when you get outside to the real world besides get a job.
Right.
And I had to figure it out on my own as far as like, damn, do I want to go to college? Excuse my language, but do I want to go to college or do I want to go to the military?
Right.
And that was just something that like, wasn't fully concrete as far as like what we need to do as far as my plan, because he was focused on other things besides his own child. So.
And for me, I feel like the time frame in which his presence was required, it was gone like through, I would say, the end of elementary to about all the way through high school.
Yeah.
That's a very important time.
Very important.
It's a huge span to be fatherless, bro.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, Marcel, I'm looking at another article as far as like in regards to, just development as like a child being raised and, just in a household and how parents influence early moral development. A new study, according to greatergood.berkeley.edu, finds that the key to raising moral kids lies within the parents' sense of empathy and injustice. So I just wanted to ask you, like, briefly, just tell me, how did your parent, the parent that you were living with during your time of like developing, like how did they speak of your other parent?
I mean, I could go on record to say negatively, but
True.
You know what I mean?
True, yeah.
Let me just put context on it. I'm the youngest of 5, right? Right. So
Beautiful. Yeah.
being as though my mother had to handle all of us at one time, by herself.
Yeah.
She was honest with us. She was open. She didn't hold anything back. She felt like we deserved to know. But she still gave us that opportunity to formulate our own opinions about our fathers ourselves.
That's
right. As we got older, she did leave it up to us, right, to have and go out and seek a relationship with our father if you do so choose. But it was always honesty in the household, and I respect her for it.
Yeah.
Because not saying that I'm never gonna speak or talk to my father again, but it kind of led me to process how a man should be, right? And I learned things the inverse. So if somebody rob a bank, I know not to rob a bank. Now.
Right.
You feel me? Because I know the consequences of that. You feel me? So it worked that way for me.
Yeah. I'll say for me, if we're being honest, like my mom was also straightforward as well. She spoke negatively about my dad because she was like, as much as he claims that he's here and wants to support you, Why is he not here right now?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That has nothing. My relationship doesn't have anything to do with y'all two's relationship. And she was speaking, to
Right.
me about that,
Right.
And that was something that that I had to develop over time, as far as realize dang, my dad, that's true. My dad isn't here. And if I gotta reach out to him first, then that's a problem.
Right. It was, if I'm adding more context on this, bruh, and I'm being so transparent, when they were at the point when they were married, right? My mother, my father is not my mom's only
Mate or
mate, right?
Yeah.
She has other baby fathers, like one other one.
Yeah.
But at the time when my dad was in the household, right, he would only buy food for me.
Wow.
Right? And even as a child, that messed with my subconscious, bro, because I'm looking at my siblings and I'm like, there's no way I'm sitting here eating
Yeah.
and y'all are hungry.
Wow.
There's no way. And I'm not going to say it got me envious or it got me hating him. But at the time, I'm just taken aback by it. I'm looking at this man. I'm like, how do you feel as though that's right? Right?
Yeah.
It just baffles me, bro.
Wow.
It baffles me, bro.
Yeah, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. All right. So getting into topic 3, I want to pull up an article according to Western Michigan, their studies. And what it said in the article was, although several studies reflect the positive impact of black father involvement, it has also been found that some black sons did well when their fathers were not as present in their lives. So, Marcel,
Yes, sir.
what is your current relationship with your father right now?
I wouldn't say non-existent. I try to keep in touch as much as possible. But I'm gonna just be honest, man. Like I said earlier, I know I said that I tried not to have a grudge or envy
Right.
him as much, but that's still in the back of my mind. Like every time we speak or we have our little interactions, that's still in the back of my mind. So every interaction that we have, and he speaks and he says things, kind of triggers, right? It triggers a lot of things, bro. So
Past trauma experiences?
Yeah. So I have to make the conversations brief. I have to make it brief. Like if I'm being if I'm being totally transparent, me and my family had a little bit of a running joke.
Right.
Right? The running joke was, at one point my dad promised me some money. he promised me some money, and at my college graduation, they was like, "Oh yeah, maybe you could get that $100 he promised you like 15 years ago." it was crazy, but
nah, facts. I was like that too.
Yeah, but
I went through that too.
circling back, bro. It's like non-existent. Like I respect him, right? I wouldn't be here without him. But in another aspect, it's just like I can't forget what you've done, right? And another thing is he's the type of person to take credit for something that he has nothing to do with.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. To this day, I'm gonna be open about it, how I really felt. The brother did not show up to my graduation, college graduation.
Wow.
He knew about it. You knew I was in college.
Right.
You knew I was in college. Like
you
knew it was coming.
You knew I was doing good.
You knew it was coming. Like you know the end. You knew the end result was I was gonna walk across the stage and you didn't show up. So yeah, that's tough. That's tough. You actually, I kind of, in another aspect, I was like, maybe I'm being selfish, or maybe I was. Hear me out. I was being selfish because he acted the way that he's been acting.
Right.
He didn't show up.
Oh
He's never been showing up.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So at graduation, he didn't show up. He did what he's always known to do.
Wow.
Not show up.
Not show up.
Right.
Damn. That's crazy, man. I'm going to say this. I personally feel like my dad, my father, he's going to show up to the graduation. Just to say I did it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, like I said, in the past topics that we were just talking about, my father wasn't there too much.
Yeah.
It was only so much that he did for me. So it's like what I'm doing, it has nothing to do with you, just like how you said.
Right.
So,
And then
yeah,
it was
man.
like, it was one time frame where we was moving a lot. My mom was dealing with a lot, and she tried to call him for help. Right, she needed me to live with him for X amount of time. And brother, when I tell you the time that I was there with him, it was probably the worst time I've been through in my life because he remarried and he let this lady mentally abuse me, bruh.
Yeah.
Verbally abuse me, bruh.
Wow.
It was probably one of the worst stretches of my life.
Yeah.
Still maintain my grades though. AB honor roll student.
As
Shout
you
out to that.
should,
Shout out
man.
to that.
As you should.
Real
Congratulations, by the way, for
Appreciate it.
graduating, bro.
I appreciate that, brother.
Not a lot of people can say that they have their bachelor's degree.
I appreciate that, brother. But yeah, I endured that, man, and it was tough. But that's another thing that I will not, just let fly. Like
Right.
I can't forget that you let her do that, and without no defense at all.
Right.
It's crazy.
Well, in conclusion, I want to pull up one more article. Okay. Levelman.com. And according to levelman.com, it states, no matter the circumstances of how we are raised, black men have uniquely complicated relationships with fatherhood. On one hand, society expects little of us beyond, us being successful. But at the same time, we are here today to be the pillars and to tell our audience that we are the ones that's gonna be the stepping stones or the future for our families.
Foundation.
Exactly. So thank you all for tuning in to the show. Once again, I'm Amari Evans as your host. And what's your name again?
The one and only Marcel McCray. I appreciate y'all for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to The Male's Perspective.